Hey guys, what's up? It's OCM. I'm here today. I'm actually going to do something a little bit different than I normally do for my guides, and I am going to do a kind of live recorded walkthrough here of Gul'dan. I'm going to walk through the builds that I have on this guide and give kind of an extensive look at how Gul'dan works and how all of these builds work and how I think they're going to play into the current meta when this new patch drops. So, let's get right into it. First thing off of the bat is Gul'dan's basic kit. His Q, of course, is Fellflame. His W is Drain Life, and his E is Corruption. Now, you can build him in three very different ways, and ironically or non-ironically, you can build them into each one of these abilities, or you can build him, rather, into each one of these abilities and build their strengths around how you want to play Gul'dan. And the three that I have discovered are the Affliction build, the Destruction build, and then I called on the guide the Fear, or the Fuel or Feared build. Warcraft reference for all you nerds. But I think that the two most relevant by far are going to be the Affliction and the Destruction build, which are the builds that center around Gul'dan's E and his Q. The first build that I want to show you guys is the Affliction build, and this is what I think a lot of people will agree is the safer build, quote-unquote. And it starts off with the quest talent at level 1 called Echoed Corruption. I then go into Improved Life Tap because this does not actually increase the amount of health that you lose, it just literally gives you 35% mana back, which I think is amazing. To me, that really just doesn't compare with the other talents on this tier for me. Health Funnel does go into the Life Drain build, but, you know, whatever. Consume Soul is interesting. I think it makes you a lane bully a little bit more prominently than you need to be, because I still think that Gul'dan's a lane bully without that talent. So, I think that Improved Life Tap is pretty objectively amazing, so for this build and for the Destruction build, I go Improved Life Tap. For the Corruption build, ironically, you actually want the Fellflame talent here. You're going to go Bound by Shadow, because Fellflame hits reduce the cooldown of Corruption. So, any hero rather, that you hit with, your Q is going to reduce the cooldown of your E. And you need that, because it's the longest cooldown in your kit. For the Affliction build, I prefer Horrify, because the utility that a Fear brings to your kit is not only good for your team, but it's really good for you and Peel, and kind of keeps you that long-range damage over time dealer that you need to be. And that utility upgrade at 22, we'll talk about that in a second. At 13, you can kind of flex a little bit on this. I prefer Healthstone, kind of for an interesting reason. I'll show you guys in a second. So basically what you want to do is, if you're going off and you realize that you're either in a pinch situation where you're running out of mana but you can't stand still to life tap, you can basically just dump your entire kit out here and just wham, 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 throw everything out, and then like life tap into Oblivion, and then just Healthstone yourself right back up. I think that there's a ton of value in that, because that in a pinch situation is going to save you a ton of pressure. So for that reason, I think that Healthstone is my go-to on that tier. What you're going to want now on the 16 tier is Ruinous Affliction. This is just the ultimate, the trifecta, the pinnacle to the Affliction build. And Corruption deals an additional 171 damage on impact, just baseline. And if the enemy hero is hit by all three strikes, the third strike deals 511 damage. And what's really cool about this is that if you stack this with your quest talent at level 1, which is hit 30 heroes with Corruption to increase the strikes, what this will do is make it so that your E inherently will travel 3 forward, 3 back. And for Ruinous Affliction, I can't believe it works like this, but for Ruinous Affliction, it only has to hit 3 times. So say someone walks into it, you don't need to line them up that initial 3. It can hit on the second, third, and back, and it'll do it. It can hit on the back, 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 and do it. It just has to hit them 3 times, and it will trigger Ruinous Affliction, which is amazing. So that's just hands down, like, if you're going the Affliction build, Ruinous Affliction on 16. For 20, I prefer for this build Haunt, mainly because of the vulnerability that it adds to it. The extra duration is just an added bonus. However, it needs to be stressed that Demonic Circle is incredible, and I think that's going to be the go-to competitive pick, just because, like, holy effing shit, pardon my French, but, like, we need to just talk about how, like, you can lay a portal here, take a shit ton of dick, and just, like, oh god, what am I going to do? And you just insta-teleport out of there. Like, that is, considering that's only a 1-minute cooldown, to get you anywhere that you drop that on the map, don't underestimate that. Another point that is very interesting to think about when using Demonic Circle is that you'll notice if I drop this in a bush, it actually acts as a ward in a radius around the portal. I can get further away from it here so you can see this. That's actually kind of on my camera. There you go. So if you're looking at this, it does actually give vision, and granted the enemy team can see this portal. It's not like a hidden ward or anything, but wherever you do set this portal, it acts as vision. So if for no other reason it's a vision upgrade at level 20, I think that's pretty cool. So this is the Affliction build. These are the explanations and the reasons why this build works the way that it does. Please keep in mind that when you are running this build, it is definitely more long-range poke. It is a bit more of a passive build, and it definitely works around stacking that damage over time as a way of getting the most value out of Gul'dan's consistent pressure. The second build that we are going to go over here is my personal favorite, and the one that I prefer playing Gul'dan because I play mages very aggressively. This is the Destruction build, and pretty self-explanatory. The way that this starts out here at 1 is Pursuit of Flame, which is hit 40 heroes to increase the general area of effect of your Q, Fell Flame. It will increase it by 10% when you do hit 40 heroes with that, which is interesting because it just gives you more AoE damage, also increases that poke, and ironically, I found it to do pretty well against stealthies like Nova, and you would think that Nova counters into Gul'dan, but just being able to spam your Q out in that area, and you'll see why he actually kind of counters AP heroes here as well. I'll explain. This is very interesting. I like this build. On 4, Improved Life Tap is my favorite to go. It's just so much value. Now, ironically, you do not go Bound by Shadow with this build. You don't build that into your Q. I prefer Hunger for Power, and this is similar to how I feel that Destro Warlocks were played in WoW when I played WoW very competitively, is that the reason you take Destruction is that they are a little bit squishier than your average Warlock, but my god, do they put out damage. And I think that Hunger for Power represents that really well, because you gain a flat 15% ability power increase, but it reduces the healing that you receive from allies by 25%. And I don't think this is a massive deal, especially with the power of a lot of healers in the current meta, but this will reward conscious players with just a flatline increase in ability power, and honestly, at the end of the day, if you're missing out on that 25% healing, you may want to work on your positioning. With Hunger for Power chosen, and this may be the unpopular pick here, but hear me out, Reddit, okay? This is Reign of Destruction. I like Reign of Destruction with this build, and I'm going to explain why, because while the Fear has a lot of value, I think that Reign of Destruction is a sleeper talent. Because if you can get yourself in a position to maximize this value, or maybe you have like a 2-tank team that you're on and you have a lot of peel, if someone can set up the perimeter for you to cast this, the zoning is amazing. It's not even necessarily that you're going to take Reign of Destruction for this like wombo combo damage or anything, because like take a mosh pit for example, a Gul'dan is going to get more damage value going up to a mosh pit and spamming his Q on it, as opposed to like casting Reign of Destruction over it. Reign of Destruction is both an offensive and defensive talent for the zoning and the pressure it can apply in weirder situations, and this gets further down the line. I'll explain how this builds into 20. At 13, Fell Armor. I love this talent because this makes Gul'dan the anti-mage mage, because hitting an enemy hero with Fell Flame, your Q, will grant you a spell shield reducing ability damage taken by 30% for 2.5 seconds. And the first thing to notice off the bat with this talent is that your Fell Flame's on a 1.5 second cooldown. If you can keep hitting people with Fell Flame, you're just gonna have a spell shield. You're always gonna have a spell shield, and that's incredible. So like, this again is one of the rewards that comes out of the Destruction build, is that if you have accuracy and good positioning, it's gonna reward you with a literal constant spell shield if you're hitting people. I mean, take the increased radius already, the quest that you have at 1, it's gonna be so much easier to hit people, which means it's gonna be easier to keep your spell shield up. Need I say more? Rampant Hellfire is the choice at 16. Darkness Within is another interesting choice. I don't think the active is necessarily as good as Rampant Hellfire, because again, what Rampant Hellfire does is increase the damage of your Q by 6% for 5 seconds when hitting an enemy hero, and this can stack up to 5 times for a 30% total increase.
Voice crack. Apparently, I am still a 16-year-old.
Stacking this up to 30% is pretty huge, and it also encourages that consistent use of your Q that will reward you with that spell shield, that will reward you with a damage increase, and it will let you play up in people's faces, because the Destruction build is far more aggressive than its counterpart, the Affliction build. What you'll notice as well is that, especially with these choices that we've made at 13 and 16, this gives you a little bit more pressure and power and survivability, especially with the spell shield, that will make Hunger for Power a little bit more reasonable of a choice, considering that you receive 25% general less healing from your allies. Rampant Hellfire on the line there, and you can see that there is a graphic down here. So casting your Q actually will display an animation down here that shows you how many times you have stacked Rampant Hellfire. You can keep track of that. It even gives you a timer to show you how much longer you have to hit an enemy hero, so there's a little bit of a cushion with it. But you'll notice my spell shield is still going, the damage increases up, and I'm hitting for 651 a tick here. Just on and on and on, and just, you know. With that in mind now, we're going to look at level 20, and my reasoning for why both Deep Impact and Demonic Circle are very good picks with this build. Deep Impact is a sleeper talent again, on top of Reign of Destruction, which is already a sleeper choice. Deep Impact slows enemy movement speed by 90% for 0.5 seconds, and I know that, like, it's a bit of a turn-off reading 0.5 seconds, because you're like, man, half a second, what the hell is that? 90% is literally a root! That's like Rhaegar's Earthbind Totem, the talent that you can take at 16. That is practically a root. And you gotta keep in mind that with the area of impact Reign of Destruction has already, you kind of have to look at this and just go, okay, imagine where the pattern inconsistencies you see in some of these hitting are. People are going to get stuck in that. Having that slow in an area is going to be really interesting to mess with enemy teams and still foster that zoning, which is the only reason that you would honestly take Reign of Vengeance, Reign of Destruction, rather, pardon me, is that awkward kill security, but also the utility that it brings as a zoning tool. Demonic Circle is a great choice because it acts as a ward, it acts as a global teleport anywhere that you put that on a minute-long cooldown. It's an amazing talent. So, the last build that we're going to look at, and I will give this a fair shot in this video. I don't think that there is any utility to this build in the competitive regard. However, if you were just sick and tired of playing the other Tool Gul'dan builds and you're like, man, I wish I had something new to do, try this build out. I don't know, go play this build in Quick Match or like Unranked Draft or something and have fun with it. This is the Life Drain build, and it starts off pretty self-explanatory. You're going to go Glyph of Drain Life, which just increases the basic cast range of Drain Life. Instead of improved life tap on this, because this is not as much of a mana intensive build, you're going to go Health Funnel, because killing enemies with Drain Life reduces its cooldown. This, you should note, is also really good for camp roaming, and I don't think this should be Gul'dan's job, but this is really good for camp roaming. This is also really good for being a lane bully, because this will bring that reduced cooldown on minions as well. This does not have to be on heroes. So Health Funnel is a pretty good choice there, and honestly the choice you want to go. Devour the Frail at 7, it turns the damage that you do to enemies below 50% health into basically execute damage. It increases the damage by 50%. So below 50% health, increased 50% damage. It makes your Drain Life a little bit more aggressive.
Pick your fucking ult.
I have no idea. If you want to do the Fear, great. If you want to do Reign of Destruction, great. I don't think there's really a talent here that's better for one another. I think just the base utility of having to stand still all of the time to cast Life Drain probably means that Horrify is going to be better for you for just like peeling reasons and everything. 13, you're going to want Harvest Life. This is Drain Life heals for 50% more health when used on heroes, and considering this build is centered around the move in your kit that literally makes you stand still, you're going to want that extra healing on you because you don't want to die just standing there like the sad Orc Warlock that you would be. This is interesting, and I've been having an interesting time playing around with this, but I actually go Darkness Within here, which is gaining ability power after using Life Tap, because how I discovered the best use, in my opinion, for Drain Life is, anyways with any other build, is that you want to Life Tap so that you can get your mana back, and then you want to Drain Life so that you have that cushion immediately back, because your mana's not going anywhere with Drain Life. So tap and then drain. I used this in this build, and it turned out really interesting at 16 with Darkness Within, because this makes your Drain Life hit like a freight train, and it can be used obviously with any other move in your kit, but you'll see the reasoning behind this. For the sake of picking it, we're going to go with Demonic Circle on this, but basically what you want to do, I'm going to get old Arthas out here. This build is very interesting to me because you want to slowly wear down your opponent here, and I mean, Arthas' spot is not the most intelligent player, we all know this. But, I mean, what you want to do is, now that he's below this 50% health, you're going to tap, and it's going to do the increased AP, and you're going to drain. And that increased damage is like an execute. So you stack the AP of Life Tap on top of the drain, and that's where the potency of this build comes from. And again, you have to know that I really think this build is not worth anything. The fact that I have to stand still, if this was an intelligent player with a brain, they would see me doing this from a mile away, and they'd be like, what the hell is he doing? And they would stun you, they'd root you, they'd dive onto you. There is not a lot of potency in this. So, thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I stream on Twitch pretty regularly. I am always making guides on HeroesNexus here as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that this was a comprehensive enough guide to help you guys get your foot in the door when Gul'dan formally releases this coming Tuesday. All of these builds are very interesting and unique to their own, and again, I think that Destruction and Affliction, respectively found on this guide as well with my explanations in written form, are the two builds to go to, but if you're looking for that trolley time, Life Drain build is also a pretty fun choice. If you have any questions for me, feel free to drop them in the comments either on the guide below or on this video. I will respond to either. But until next time, I'm going to leave you with that hot orc dance. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.